lead. So some question marks in and around those two cars. Everybody on new inters, aside from Alpha Tauri, who are using a roaded inter. That means they've already used it in a session prior. Everybody else on a brand new intermediate tyre.
Now, people around the venue asking Cam, naturally, given that we've had a delay of about an hour to what was the scheduled race start, what happens here? Will we get a roughly full 2 hours of GP racing? The answer is that we factor that into the rules now to allow for such a scenario that we had with that huge downpour in the last few hours.
100% of the races we've had here have had safety cars. We've never had a red flag here, but we've had 100% with safety cars. We've only ever gone below 1 hour 55 minutes once. So it would suggest that we're going to run very long into this race. Now look at the fastest pit stops this season. Sergio Perez has had the 4 fastest pit stops of the entire year. That could be critically important here. A 404 metre long pit lane, a 60 km/h speed limit. That is a very long time to traverse the length of this lane. The less time you spend in there, the better it is for your race time.
And as you can see from the pictures on the big screens, if you're watching in the corporate boxes, look how damp it still is in parts of this track. This is going to be a mission. From the lane.
Yeah, and look at that, the record-breaking weekend attendance of $302,000. Put your hands together, Singapore, and everybody that has joined us from all over the world in the 13th running of the original F1 night race. Trying to put pitch into those tyres. He breaks the record for the most amount of starts in Formula One tonight. Fernando Alonso, he'll start out of position number 5. And he is a driver to look out for here. He's a previous winner. The only time we've had winners, they've been world champions. Only world champions have won in Singapore. George Russell will go to the end of pit lane, and he will start from pit lane. They release him now. And that's the safest decision to make as a team. The last of the cars start to roll past our commentary box and onto the the main straight here. There's the Williams of Nicholas Latifi, the last car on the grid. When the red lights go out, we will be racing in Singapore. Ferrari lead. The last time we had a red start, Lewis Hamilton won that race. 1 light, 2 light. When they go out, we are racing. Yes, it is Carlos Sainz through now. Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton. And there up the right now, Sergio Perez. Charles Leclerc settled in. And Lando Norris, what a drive off the start. He's got through an Alonso.
Great equaliser, these sets of circumstances. Will we see a few come to the fore, like Fernando Alonso, who's got so much experience, chalks up a milestone, a very special milestone in the history of the sport here. Watch for the Alpine driver. A couple of them, one's gone around, one of the Williams has gone around in the background. Was that Nicholas Latifi? Rejoins okay by the looks of it.
It's a very slippery start. It's about maintaining position on track. And we can see there Sebastian Vettel making his way up through the order as well. It was a good day in qualifying for Aston Martin. They are fighting back.
Traffic to continue. One of the Haas being forced wide. The Haas
He's a very aggressive driver. The Haas on for a good result here.
Elbows out from Kevin Magnussen. A little bit of bodywork damage was that from one of them, maybe the front.
chasing after Sergio Perez. So it's Red Bull, Ferrari, Lewis Hamilton who lost that spot.
Well done, Singapore. Lovely to see you all on your feet as they come across the start-finish line to complete the first lap. Stop and consider what it's like for the drivers with a plume of water still. Tricky conditions. Sergio Perez leads the way.
Well spotted, Rusty. That was what you saw, the end plates on the front wing. That's the side of the front wing on the Haas of Kevin Magnussen. That report to race control. What that means, he's really sending a message to race control, because if there is a loose part of the body, he'll be required to come in and change that front wing, front nose cone. And now a big move from Max Verstappen on the inside, and he gets that done. So he's back on a charge again, up into the top 10. It's going to be a long race from here. Kevin Magnussen now having a look at Lance Stroll and Daniel Ricciardo. He's had a big move up the order here. Up into 13, starting from P16.
Replay of the race start for you. Watch for the jump from Sergio Perez here. And Lewis Hamilton got a pretty good start. Second phase really gripped up for Sergio Perez and he wrestled the lead.
And Max Verstappen didn't get off the line. It was interesting. It looked like as he shortcut down into turn 1. And we'll watch to see if there's anything else going on there. Started out of position number 3. Runs in position number 4. Also, there was a little bit of contact there. Verstappen bogged down, he dropped back as far as 12th. He's now got himself back up the order into, well, 12th position on my timing charts, but I thought he got himself up into the top 10 before. We'll see these results as they make their way around. He is up into 10th. The timing monitor just rides it itself, and this is now Sergio Perez, and what a start. It just hooked up, didn't it?
The reaction analysis was actually identical, but it just, in that, I talked about it being like a second phase, it gripped up and went, and he was able to get by. So he now enjoys an advantage. Turn 1 incident involving Lewis Hamilton and the 55 of Carlos Sainz has been reviewed, no further action.
Yeah, and that was fair enough. It was a racing incident, it was wheel-to-wheel contact.
I told you about the tires.
We saw this in MP3 yesterday. I hinted at it. These cars were not good here in the wet conditions yesterday, and Lewis Hamilton concerned about the speed of the car on the inters. We've seen it other races. They've had turning the heat on these tyres as a trouble for them, and they just didn't look good in the wet. And again, the incident involving, was that car 1, Verstappen, reviewed no further investigation, leaving the track. That was when he went to the inside and shortcut it into turn 1. And again, race director. Continues his charge now. Hard-charging Red Bull is hunting him down. Look at the twitch from Lance Stroll, who's currently under threat from Kevin Magnussen. This is the moment we think with the end plate. He ran wide, just over the back of the curve there. Let's see what happens with Verstappen. This will be the contact, I think. Side by side, watch for the rear. It'll be as he turns in. Verstappen moves across. There's the contact right there. So it's actually with the front right. Just got caught in between, they banged wheels, and that's the damage on the end plate. You can see there on the front left, right of screen.
Look at this from the driver's perspective. You're on board with Alex Albon now. And this is what we saw in the background at the start. So visibility so minimal for the driver, and we saw it spin around. Good recovery from Alex Albon, and he rejoins. That was on the opening lap. Sergio Perez still with an advantage of around about a second. It's 0.9 over Charles Leclerc. He has the fastest lap of the race so far with a 2-minute 0.875, and we'll be watching very closely for improvements in that time, improvements in grip level. For now though, it's the Red Bull from the Ferraris.
A long way to go in this race. Some tyre running at some stage, and much like we saw in qualifying yesterday, will be all important. You go too soon, you'll lose too much track position. You go too late, you lose too much track position. So really, it'll come down to the strategic driver and their engineers. Sergio Perez, Charles Leclerc. Positions here. Lead 3 wins for the season. Now set by Sergio Perez with a 2-minute 0.310. Perez, Leclerc, Sainz, Hamilton, Norris, Alonso, your top 6. Pierre Gasly, wonderful job in the AlphaTauri, sitting in 7th. And here comes Max Verstappen, currently in 9th, trying to get back to where he started this race. For the first time this year, he's actually lost spots off the start. He had not lost a spot this year off the beginning of a race. And tonight was a much more difficult one for him as he just got too much wheel spin. His father, Jos Verstappen, watches on. It was a horrendous start from Max Verstappen, but you just can't see him not playing a part in the results at some stage today.
It was a rarity to see that, but a great fight back so far inside the top 10. Now chasing down Sebastian Vettel. Seeing a few sectors pop up that are reasonable for Charles Leclerc. Here's George Russell, currently 17th.
So we're right on board. Replay, big dive, big lunge there. Good move. Gets it stopped, and remember, he started out of the pit lane, so getting up to 17th. Good result so far for George Russell. Max Verstappen is now close enough to Sebastian Vettel. This move will be on very shortly. He was so quick in the wet practice session yesterday. He was the second fastest car. He was half a second off Charles Leclerc. But with Sergio Perez in control of this race, they can start to use that to their advantage.
He's closely now to the fastest car business. So keep an eye on that battle up in front. Few sectors, as I said, for Charles Leclerc. Perez was between them. So status quo, let's see if Verstappen can battle here. They've trimmed it right now.
If you go we used an intermediate tyre in 4.2. So remember that number, that was still on an intermediate tyre yesterday, a 152.3. We then went halfway through Q3 before we went out in Q3 on the slick tyre. So I still think if they get anywhere near the 52s, watch for the decision.